Halo is definitely known as a franchise that has had some amazing cutscenes over the years, and then some cutscenes that are just perfect. And with how many times Luke and I have had to jump onto Halo and play through the campaigns, we've gotten to experience the cutscenes many times, over and over and over again. And for the most part, it's not too bad, but sometimes some of these cutscenes just stand out. So today we wanted to go through our picks for the all-time best cutscenes from all of the Halo games. But before we fully jump into it, what if we decided we wanted to make a website that dived into some of the conspiracies of the identity of the pilot from Halo Infinite? Maybe he's related to Craig, I don't know. But if we had to build a good looking website, we obviously would use Squarespace. In case you don't know about Squarespace yet, they are definitely the best all-in-one website building and hosting tool out there, and they even sponsored this video for us. And you can actually learn more about Squarespace at the end of this video. Now to start things off, we gotta go to the very beginning with Halo Combat Evolved, and prior to putting this game in for the first time, chances are a lot of people picked up the box art, looked at the game, and thought, man, look, it's some sort of Doom ripoff, but it's some green dude named Halo. And that probably had to contribute to how successful this game was, because people were in for such an amazing surprise playing that game for the first time. And we really love that opening cutscene from Halo Combat Evolved when we actually see the ring for the first time, and you realize that you're going to explore some uncharted territory, and the character that you are and the people you align with have no idea what the ring is just as much as you don't. It's just a really unique way to not only set the stage for the rest of the game, but also set the stage for a really interesting franchise. Also, the Sergeant Johnson introduction is pretty epic as well, but definitely another highlight that really helped keep the pace up with the Halo Combat Evolved campaign is definitely that found footage cutscene on 343 Guilty Spark. It's so cool that you've been fighting the Covenant, you're about halfway through the game, and then all of a sudden the game just drops this horrifying new enemy, and the way that they introduced these enemies through the cutscene was really well done. And it definitely gives this extra sense of tension moving forward through the rest of the game. And then one of our favorite cutscenes of all time is definitely that final cutscene where it's this rather bittersweet moment, but there's still this idea of hope and that things are just getting started and there's going to be more in the future. And that's a major theme that plays throughout the Halo universe. Also, real quick, I really appreciate the fact that when people were so desperate to find out what Master Chief's face actually looked like, they modded the PC version of Halo. They did no clip. They went in there and they found that, bam, Master Chief just has another helmet under the helmet. It's literally the best thing ever. Shifting gears to Halo 2, and we'll look at the original Halo 2 first. I don't think anything could get players more hyped than that moment where Master Chief is asking permission to give the Covenant their bomb back, and he just pushes it out of the ship and just goes flying through space to drop a bomb off. It was just so exciting. We really loved it. Also, the cutscene of New Mombasa and just that whole introduction, as we're not only seeing what the fight on Earth looks like, but we kind of see what the stakes are going to be looking like as well, is another highlight from Halo 2, because prior to Halo 2, we didn't really know what Chief was fighting for or what humanity really had left. And it was really cool to get to go see Earth in this level, and they just did a really unique job at kind of painting that in Halo 2. And this was of course a set piece that a lot of people were really excited for all the way back when they showed off that E3 demo in 2003. But when Halo 2 was remastered, things really just looked absolutely amazing. Blur did such a great job making these cutscenes, and I think for the most part you could look at any one of these cutscenes and say, hey, that probably deserves to be on this top list. But if we had to pick just one or two favorites, the opening cutscene that has kind of Master Chief contrasted against the Arbiter is so interesting, and just painting this image and world building around High Charity with these graphics just looks so great. And then of course the difference and changes they did to the cutscene where you are introduced to Gravemind for the first time, because back in Halo 2 this cutscene, it was okay, but when you get to see it with the Blur remaster and just how they kind of took some creative liberties and just changing the appearance, difference, it looks really good. Halo 3, while it unfortunately doesn't have a blur remaster that we really love to see with Halo 3. For instance, the sequence where we see the Arbiter and Sergeant Johnson walking past each other carrying the weapons of the other faction was such a really unique device used to kind of frame what is going on, and the fact that the elites were in fact teaming up with humanity to try to stop the Covenant and take the battle to the Ark. It was just really cool how they were able to show this without necessarily having to explicitly tell us, look, we made a deal and now we're gonna work together, or something like that. It was cool. They just showed it in a very simple cutscene. Then of course, the sequence where we see the Arbiter killing the Prophet of Truth is so great, because not only is he kind of fulfilling his own personal arc, and since he was really underutilized in Halo 3, it was nice that he still had a really strong moment of triumph, and we really like the cutscene because of it. And this next one, of course, is one of those things that was so sought after Halo 3 released, but the legendary ending of the game. So many people, whether they had ever played Halo or not, watched that cutscene online or played through Halo 3 for the first time just to see what is next for the Master Chief. And the fact that all the other cutscenes, the non-legendary cutscenes, were very ambiguous as to going on, it was really cool to see just a little glimmer of what could be next in the future one day, and that at least we knew that maybe one day we would see Master Chief again. Shifting gears to Halo Wars, which was actually the next Halo game released in early 2009, the opening cutscene is really awesome. We actually get to see Blur's debut to the Halo franchise, and they rendered the cutscenes for this game as well. And we get to see this really epic battle between the humans and the Covenant, and by 2009 standards, these cutscenes were amazing. Not a lot of studios had utilized pre-rendered cutscenes for an entirety of a game, and it really looked great here. We also really like that first Arbiter and Prophet cutscene, and it's cool to see an interaction like this, and it's really cool to see the larger context of this war and the inner workings of the Covenant. Just later on that year though, Halo 3 ODST released, and one thing that's really interesting is that while this game did have cutscenes, in 2009 these graphics were really starting to kind of show their age, and it's very obvious that Bungie was really putting a lot of time into Halo Reach and making those cutscenes look up to date. But ODST was so great because it focused much on atmosphere and storytelling through the game's experience more so than the cutscenes. That the cutscenes do a great job at serving the narrative purpose that they need, but the game's story is so much greater than just a few cutscenes. Though the Prepare to Drop opening is one of the greatest cutscenes in Halo, as it does such a great job at setting the stage for who all these characters are and kind of where the plot is going in just a very limited amount of time. And then the fact that we actually get to experience the ODST drop in a way unlike anything we've seen before is not only a really unique experience, but also a cool callback to Halo 2 if you were a fan back in the day, getting to see a slip space rupture literally up close and experience a cutscene that is pretty monumental in the scope of the entire Halo universe, but also you get to really see what you're getting yourself into and why this story is going to be much different than anything we'd seen in Halo. When it comes to Halo Reach though, we're a little bit more critical with some of the cutscenes here. We do think some of the cutscenes and story moments are really great and really impactful in conveying emotion and showing this sense of dread, but there's a lot of cutscenes in Halo Reach that kind of just show Noble Six flying or traveling. It just seems like a large portion of Halo Reach focuses on like, hey look, he's riding on a vehicle. But at the very least, the awesome moments and the best cutscenes really stand out because they're really good. One thing we really wanted to point out is that a lot of the death scenes for Noble Team all come across as these high tier and gripping moments. We see some great moments right after George's death, and that kind of moment where they're all sitting together calmly after New Alexandria and talking about how they're losing the war and really realizing that they're kind of at the end, and they finally have a brief break to talk about George, and then just to be completely thrown off guard by Kat's immediate death. It was such a unique way to tell a story and just have this feeling of exponential loss where you just keep losing and losing and losing, but at the end, when it's contrasted by this bittersweet victory, it kind of has this great payoff. Reach also did really great with writing off the other characters of Noble Six, minus June since he just kind of left, but Carter just YOLOing into the Scarab and Emil always being ready. They're definitely some favorite moments. Also, we really like the cutscene with Cortana Cortana or Halsey delivering Cortana to Noble 6, it was kind of this exciting moment if you were playing Reach through the first time, because you're like, hey, that's that character from all the other Halo games that really plays literally one of the most important roles in Halo. So you definitely know like the stakes already going into Reach, and just that interaction was really well done. Jumping into Halo 4, that opening cutscene, we do believe it's a blur pre-rendered cutscene, which is actually the debut of pre-rendered cutscenes in an FPS Halo game, was really a great way to introduce what the plot would kind of look like in Halo 4. Right away, we have Halsey being questioned about the humanity of Master Chief, which is this recurring question that constantly is brought up throughout Halo 4, in contrast to Cortana's condition and the fact that she feels human but isn't able to and is failing in a mechanical sense. So it was a really unique way to set the stage for Master Chief and kind of what the plot is and where the headspace is going early on. And I'll give him credit, the last cutscene really ties it all together as well, and is another section of the story we really like. We see Master Chief talking to Lasky after everything that happened, and Lasky actually even says something along the lines of, "We're not machines," and Master Chief just kind of stands there silently, somewhat accepting who he is, but there's still this glimmer of hope, because after Lasky walks away, he kind of remembers something that Cortana told him. And it's this really great parallel not only to the sense of hope from the first Halo game, but also kind of contrasting the first cutscene from the beginning of Halo 4. And then from there we get to see New Phoenix stuff, which the whole New Phoenix thing, super underrated plotline in Halo 4. They really should have developed it more, because I feel like the biggest city just kind of getting Thanos snapped all of a sudden would kind of be a big deal, but apparently not. But then we see Master Chief getting his suit dismantled by machines, and if you're on Legendary, you do get to see a glimmer of his face, which I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of that. But overall, the start and the end of Halo 4 were really well done. Middle, a little more controversial, but we won't get into that. Also, side note, in Halo 4 Spartan Ops, there were a bunch of pre-rendered cutscenes in there as well, and the one where Halsey loses her arm, kind of a big deal, kind of cool to do a major plot point like that in Spartan Ops. Then in Halo 5 Guardians, we really liked the cutscene of Team Osiris going downhill at the beginning. It was a really cool opening cutscene. We wish we could actually play, you know, the part that they showed, but when they put it in the trailer and they put it to that one Muse song, it was pretty exciting. Boom, Halo 5 done. And then Halo Wars 2 did some great cutscenes as well. They introduced the Banished and Atriox, and they did this really dark and eerie fight, and it just looks so amazing. We also loved how they kind of dove into Atriox's backstory, and that was really unique. It makes us almost excited for Halo Infinite, just seeing how well this part was fleshed out. And then the whole ring coming out of the Ark was a really unique visual, and that's something we haven't really seen up close or in this manner, and we thought it was awesome. And while these were some of our favorite and greatest cutscenes of all time, there's some other ones that deserve honorable mentions that are just amazing as well. Like we have this cutscene where, of course, after the Tartarus battle, we get to see Miranda Keyes be the hero and sprint like this to grab the key. And then they just said, hey, why not? Let's have Sergeant Johnson fly in on Guilty Spark, because we can do that. I don't know. I think that one's great. In Halo Combat Evolved, we had this one instance where the Pelican was taking off with me in it, and for whatever reason, the game glitched when Luke was trying to follow me in the Pelican, and the Pelican just flew off, leaving him behind. And I thought that was funny just because the cutscene just had Master Chief standing there after the Pelican departed. I love the fact that in ODST, if you hold the stick to the left while watching the cutscene, you can see Buck just looking at this weird caveman thing that's sitting here for whatever reason. And then this one's not really a meme as much, but it's one that I just wanted to throw in because it's not really a cutscene per se, but the Halo 2 Anniversary terminal that goes into the backstory of the Grunts and the Grunt Rebellion is really cool. I love the fact that they show High Charity up close and you kind of get to see what the city looked like, which was something I always wanted to know about, because you get to see the city in kind of the background and you get to see it from afar in cutscenes, but you never got to see like what it was like to be down on the streets, and you get a little glimpse of that, and it looked really cool. And real quick, do you want to make your website look clean and interactive? Squarespace makes it super easy with their customization tool that has a ton of designs that you can customize in many different ways. Their categories offer anything from podcasts to online shops all the way to blogs and other things. You can also schedule posts for your website if you're running a blog, for example, and if you want to have something that you can interact with your community with, they have a really awesome commenting feature as well. And with all of that, to learn more about your website data, they also help you out with one of the best analytic tools out there. And we know how important that is when you're trying to grow an audience. That's one thing that Luke and I look at firsthand whenever we're planning the course for the future of our own channel, and being able to look at what people are watching your content and who is engaging with your content is an incredibly really useful statistic. And with Squarespace, you get all the data you need to know where the people that visit your website come from, the trends over time, and you just gain so much insight into what these numbers that show up on your website actually means. And then once you have your website designed the way you want it to look, you can actually purchase your own domain to make your website not only stand out more, but also you make it kind of this actual thing when you have that good looking domain name associated with it. You can either integrate your already owned domain into Squarespace or just purchase one directly through them, and they make it really easy for you. And if you head over to squarespace.com/RocketSloth, you can actually save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code RocketSloth. Seriously, if you've been on the fence of setting up a website, do it right now. Squarespace has been so great to us in sponsoring so much of our content over the course of the last year. And if you're in need of a website, this would be the perfect time to also show support for them sponsoring our content as well. But hey, after all of that, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos just like this one, and you won't miss anything we upload, even if YouTube's acting all whack. Also, if you want to, you can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Rocket Elijah, or you can follow Luke at Rocket Sloth Luke. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye, guys.